This story is amazing. It's about a princess who meets a unicorn, and they go on magical adventures together. I can't wait to see what happens next.
What do you get when you take an elderly troll doll and put him in charge of a fake public health emergency? You get Dr. Anthony Fauci. This week, Senator Rand Paul released hundreds of pages of Anthony Fauci's private diaries from the COVID years. Somehow, this fool left more than 1,100 personal diary pages on federal government servers, and now they're all out in the open. So tonight, we're going to watch Tony Fauci play pretty princess in front of the mirror while he giggles and cries, "You like me, you really like me."
And they go on magical adventures together.
Fauci is not the main villain in the constitutional crisis that we call the COVID pandemic. The main villain was our families, our friends, and our neighbors who wanted to see us bankrupted, put in prison, and punished for refusing illegal lockdown orders and for refusing dangerous experimental drugs that were called vaccines. We're going to finish the show off tonight by going to Uncle Josh's finishing school with a road rules refresher. That's coming up tonight on Disaffected, the show that talks about politics, culture, and relationships through a psychological lens. I am Josh Slocum, and it is August 2nd, 2026. Let's talk about the Anthony Fauci diaries. He wrote 1,100 typed pages of diary entries during COVID that were left on government servers. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. found them this week. Well, he found it before that, but then he gave them to Senators Rand Paul and Ron Johnson. Let's do just a quick tour of what Tone was writing to himself. First quote up. "I think Americans should be prepared that they are going to have to..." Oh, no, excuse me. This is the right quote, but we're not into his diary yet. This is what Tony Fauci was saying to the public. So he says, "I think Americans should be prepared that they are going to have to hunker down significantly more than we as a country are doing." That was Anthony Fauci on Meet the Press in 2020, early 2020. Next quote. 2021, he said, "I would prefer as much as we possibly could. I think we should really be overly aggressive and get criticized for overreacting." Here we go on quarantines. Anthony Fauci supported what he called CDC guidelines that at first said that people who had merely been exposed, allegedly exposed, not symptomatic, just exposed to somebody who had the COVID virus. These guidelines said that people should quarantine themselves for 10 days, just from meeting with another person who had a positive COVID test. Remember, before 2020, never in history did we quarantine well people simply because they'd been exposed but were showing no signs of disease. That was brand new. Then Tone got magnanimous and allowed us how, well, maybe they should only stay hidden at home for 5 days after they've met somebody with a positive test. Here he is quoted in 2022 on CNN. "For that reason, the CDC made the judgment that it would be relatively low risk to get people out. You're right. People are getting concerned about why not test people at that time. I myself feel that's a reasonable thing to do." Actually, this was during, I believe it was during, was it on CNN or a White House press briefing? Not sure. He was all over the place, as he's going to remind us later in the show. Next quote, he says, "I believe that the CDC soon will be coming out with more clarification of that, since it obviously has generated a number of questions about that 5-day period. Should you or should you not be testing people? There will be further clarification of that coming very soon." We're already 2 years into it at this point. Here is Anthony Fauci on how important vaccine boosters were. Remember, you weren't considered vaccinated, not fully vaccinated. If you only got one shot, you had to get at least two. Then you had to get boosters. And if not, then you weren't vaccinated. Also, brand new definitions. Quote, however, importantly, and the bottom line message here, is that boosters bring back up that degree of protection to a level that is approximating what it was before. So boosters are critical in getting our approach to Omicron to be optimal. Let me refresh you. That's 2021. Let me refresh you if you forgot all the terminology. Omicron was the new variant. Omicron deaths, Delta deaths, Delta, Omicron, so many variants. Collect all. Here's Anthony Fauci on masks on 60 Minutes early March 2020. The timing on this is important. This is March 2020 on 60 Minutes. Quote, there's no reason to be walking around with a mask. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks. Tony Fauci. Now, 2 months later, in May of 2020, this time on CNN, not only did Fauci reverse himself and falsely claim that masks were effective, but he gave the manipulation game away in this clip. See if you catch what he admits.
Do you think when folks, members of the public, are being asked to do this, and they look at folks like you doing it, does that encourage its use to a positive degree?
No, it does, Jim. And I mean, I wear it for the reason that I believe it is effective. It's not 100% effective. I mean, it's sort of respect for another person and have that other person respect you. You wear a mask, they wear a mask, you protect each other. I mean, I do it when I'm in the public for the reasons that, A, I want to protect myself and protect others, and also because I want to make it be a symbol for people to see that that's the kind of thing you should be doing. And when I walk around the street in the neighborhood where I live in Washington, D.C., which still has a considerable number of infections, it's very clear that many people are doing that.
Yeah, I do it because I want to protect myself, but also because I want to set an example of what people should be doing. It's a symbol of respect. Fuck you. I can't listen to this guy and hear anything but Mort from Family Guy. I want to set an example of what people should do. Fuck you. He gave the game away. He admitted right there, and people lapped it up. Think about your mom. Think about your aunts. Think about your uncles and your dad. They lapped this fucking shit up. Oh, he cares. He says it's a symbol of respect. What the fuck happened to Americans? What is it? Is that the fourth F word I've done, and we're only 10 minutes into the show? All right. Here we go with Fauci on the topic of school closures. He does another reversal. Don't worry, we're getting close to the part where we're going to talk about his diaries. He has denied that he recommended school closures. He denied that in public, but his diaries give the lie. Here's not a clip, a quote from Fox News. Despite denying on multiple occasions during and after the COVID-19 pandemic that he personally recommended lockdowns, excerpts revealed from Dr. Anthony Fauci's private diaries prove a clear contradiction. So here is what he was writing to himself privately. This is a diary entry, number 90, please. Quote, I spoke with Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York City, and convinced him, based on what I was saying publicly and my conversation tonight, to close the New York City schools. He'd already decided that based on what I was saying on TV. Whoopsie. Let's take a look at those diary entries. This is what a man in his 70s at the time, late 70s, was writing about himself to himself during this alleged pandemic of earth-shaking significance. But first, let's look at how the mainstream media is framing the release of his diaries this week. Here's CNN. Do we have that? No, I guess we don't have CNN, but we do have USA Today. Dr. Fauci's personal diary has been cited in renewed attacks against the top immunologist who became the public face of the nation's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Republicans pounce. The right attacks. Let's see what they're pouncing on and attacking about. But first, you should fuel up. Do not jump into this on an empty stomach. Candy bar companies want you to reach for a protein-packed sugar bar when you're hungry, but that's a scam. Snarf down a chocolate bar or a bag of chips, and you're just going to end up hungry and hangry later when your blood sugar crashes from all the sugar and carbs. I think you should open a bag of biltong instead. What? Biltong. It's a South African way of curing thinly sliced meat with seasoning, spice, and vinegar. Our friends at BiltongUSA.com make the best cured beef that I have ever had, and I want you to try it because I think you'll love it. Biltong tastes like what it is. It's high-quality beef prepared by a family business and shipped to your door from the great state of Texas in a cold pack. You just pop the bags into your fridge, then pull one of them out when you're hungry. And it is best at room temperature. Don't serve it cold. It keeps just fine for a couple days on the counter. In fact, BiltongUSA.com sends you some paper bags in their cold pack with every order so you can have your biltong with you at your desk or while you're out running around. So if you like beef jerky and other kinds of dried and cured meats, you are never going to go back to the ordinary stuff after you try what's on offer at BiltongUSA.com. Remember, when you place your order, to use promo code JOSH to get 10% off your order. So now let's go back and open Tony Fauci's diary. This is an entry from April 7th, 2020. Press still hot and heavy about me. The situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. It is not hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable in the world. You really like me. Senator Rand Paul, God bless him, has given us a pretty in pink tour of the highlight. Look at that. Look at the graphic he's put together that says Tony's diary. It's like something right out of Tiger Beat. There's too much. I'm not going to try to read that to you. I just want to show you what it looks like on the screen because it's so cute. Senator Rand Paul comes down on him for claiming publicly that there was very little chance that this virus was manufactured in a lab, while at the same time, Anthony Fauci was in meetings with up to a dozen scientists. In one particular meeting about the lab hypothesis, he was in a meeting with a dozen scientists. Only 2 out of the dozen thought that the virus looked natural rather than synthetic, man-made and created. So Fauci wrote in his diary that he had to waste his time answering letters from senators like Rand Paul, who he accused in indulging in conspiracy theories. Quote, again from his diary, July 12th, 2021. It is important to point out how many hours we are all wasting in responding to the multiple letters from senators and congressmen fundamentally driven by conspiracy theories that the National Institutes of Health has funded work at the Wuhan Institute of Virology that led to SARS-CoV-2. For example, over the weekend, I was on multiple Zoom calls with my staff, fine-tuning the letters in response to multiple questions from people like Senators Rand Paul, Marshall, Burr. I am somewhat surprised that Senator Burr was part of this since he is generally a friendly person to me. Oh, were you upset that he didn't act like your friend and act like a public servant instead? Well, the National Institutes of Health did, in actual fact, fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. That's real. Research on whether bat coronaviruses could attach to human immune cell particles. The Christian Post brings us these highlights from Tone's Tiger Beat diary. This is number 140. Press is going wild with me, Fauci wrote on March 22nd, 2020. Front page in the Washington Post yesterday, an op-ed by Maureen Dowd in the New York Times today about me and my relationship with the President of the United States. Profile by Peter Nicholas on me in the Atlantic. I can picture him in front of the mirror going, we must increase our bust. Tonton thought President Trump was getting jealous of all the attention Fauci was getting. Here's another quote. Apparently, the White House is very upset that I am being profiled, and it looks like I am putting down the President of the United States and becoming a star that outshines him. The press is playing into this, as is the tweet storm. Very stressful! Exclam. Oh, you're so important. Do you like how I did that? Important. He even included in his diaries a picture of the faux Catholic icon medal that someone made because he was this flattered to be called a saint. Look at that on your screen. It's got praying hands. It's Dr. Fauci. What does it say? Patron saint of public health. Diary entry. Kate McKinnon played me again on Saturday Night Live. I did a fireside chat with Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks and Doctors Carter and Wright to discuss vaccines in the African American community. Then more press notes. I'm trying to wrangle a cat down here. Kitty, no, you can't be on camera this week. Just go chew plastic in the other room. Here's the American Conservative on the Fauci Diaries by the incomparable Ann Coulter. Title, The Princess Diaries of Anthony Fauci. Number 180, please, Kevin. Anthony Fauci on Anthony Fauci. Quote, apparently, a lot of people at the Pentagon admire me very much. The nurses went absolutely wild to see me. They were squealing and laughing and clapping. It was something to behold. Did I mention he's easy on the eyes? That was Fauci quoting the Anthony Fauci fan club Twitter account. Next up, 190, please. A gala event was held tonight. It was the highest level of A-list you could imagine in Washington, D.C. One person said Tyra Banks was sexy, but I was even more sexy than she was. She said, that is true, and my mother is in love with you. I am such a valued spokesperson and a good communicator. Wonderful brunch. The typical Washington A-list was there. Oh, we got more. Anne brings us more. Do we have? Yeah, 200, please. Thank you. The ridiculous attention to me continues. Fan clubs, swags, am constantly on TV. Countless profiles of me. Many print profiles and features on me. Ridiculous. Too numerous to count, exclam. Anne's parentheses in there, kind of like those myocarditis deaths. Quote, a photographer from across the landscape shot me and focused on my polka dot socks. It got tweeted around the country. Birx has her scarves and Fauci has his socks. Jeez. One more, 210, please. The swag around me is getting really ridiculous. You can buy Fauci t-shirts, donuts, sweatshirts, candles, pillows, etc. Geez, I do not like this one bit. I can tell you'll really hate it. Continued crazy stuff. Petition to name me sexiest man alive. Video games named after me. A Fauci bobblehead. Dishes in restaurants named after me. And on and on. You can tell he absolutely hates this attention. He just wants to be seen as a public servant. So this past week, Senator Rand Paul subpoenaed, Anthony Fauci to testify. Now, remember that Fauci has already been pardoned in advance for crimes that he may have committed during COVID. Joe Biden's auto pen gave him the pardon, which is almost certainly invalid and illegal, but nobody's going to do anything about it. Nobody will pay any price for that. But that pardon means that he can't be prosecuted for these possible crimes and crimes that I absolutely believe he did. So he has no legal ability to get in front of Congress and plead the Fifth Amendment and refuse to testify. He's already been pardoned, but he did it anyway in the Senate, bringing his lawyer with him to the table. Various reports say that he invoked the Fifth Amendment during this hearing between 111 and 150 times. Here is Senator Paul trying to get Anthony Fauci to answer a serious question about gain-of-function research. This is number 220.
Dr. Fauci, would you like to at least answer this one question for us today and let us know whether or not you've changed your mind on whether or not the benefits of gain-of-function research outweigh the risks?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
The chairman has denied your assertion of privilege and directed you to answer, but you nonetheless refuse and stand on privilege despite the existence of the pardon. The committee will have to consider after this hearing what appropriate action should be taken against you for the failure to testify after being directed to do so. It's against the law to obstruct an investigation of Congress. There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today.
Actually, no, there won't. As much as I'm glad that Rand Paul did this, he's not telling the truth. There aren't going to be any repercussions. Nobody's going to do fuck all to this guy. Nobody is going to do. And I'll tell you why. I was thinking about you guys know that I like the I like reading the history of the English Tudor court. There's a parallel in the Tudor court to this. Here's the reason why nobody's going to do anything to him. They're going to threaten it, but they're not going to do it. When Elizabeth I reigned in England, Mary Queen of Scots, who was ludicrous and nuts, Mary Queen of Scots got deposed by her own country. She fled to England, to Elizabeth's realm, without Elizabeth's permission. Elizabeth was furious. Elizabeth ended up keeping Mary Queen of Scots under house arrest for 17 or 18 years and spent the entire time dithering over executing her. And she did, in fact, need to be executed because Mary Queen of Scots was actively plotting to kill Elizabeth of England the whole time. The reason why Elizabeth wouldn't execute her, she finally did, but it took 18 years, was because she was afraid of the precedent that would set. If she was the first person to execute an anointed sovereign, an anointed queen, then she herself would be in danger. That is the same reason why nobody's going to do jack shit to Anthony Fauci. I'd like to believe that Rand Paul means it, but I don't believe he actually does. Let's give you as a treat one more exchange on a less serious matter.
Do you have that in front of you?
Please.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let the record record that the witness has refused to answer whether there's a folder in front of him based on his Fifth Amendment right. Do you have that in front of you?
He also refused to answer when Senator Josh Hawley had him up there. He wouldn't say whether there was a carpet on the floor. He wouldn't say what color the carpet was. So, it's funny because it isn't funny. It was clear from the beginning that Anthony Fauci is a narcissist. I would say he's a narcissistic psychopath. That's my opinion, my judgment. But as is usual, the vast majority of America looked at this obviously self-aggrandizing dictatorial psycho and thought that they saw a kindly grandfather who really loved them. That's why the real villain in this story is not Anthony Fauci. It's the American public. Most of the American public. Most of America knelt at Anthony Fauci's feet. They carried his message into their homes. They carried it into their businesses. And they wanted to see the non-compliant and the unvaccinated expelled from polite society. America wanted to see its own friends and its own family members punished. It was just mouse cultural revolution right here in the alleged land of the free. Children turned their parents in to snitch lines, health department snitch lines, for not getting vaccinated. Parents and siblings turned against each other and turned each other in to state authorities for not obeying illegal quarantine orders. It was disgusting, and it was a real mask-off moment. I will never see my countrymen the same way again. I will never see human beings the same way again. Come back after the break to take a look at the ugly, frothing face of your own friends and neighbors. We're going to refresh ourselves on what they wanted to do to you.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Let the record record that the witness has refused to answer whether there's a folder in front of him based on his Fifth Amendment right.
If you're watching Disaffected, then you are a lady or gentleman of fine and discriminating taste. You don't listen to those Mickey Mouse podcasts. You listen to us. And we'd love to have you support us. And I'd love to have you in the club of people that I call disaffectants. Disaffectants are friends of the show who join as supporting members and who give money to make the show happen every month. And there's 2 easy ways to do it, and both of them get you extra bonus content. You can subscribe to us as a supporting member at disaffectedpod.substack.com. That's our Substack, our blog, our main port of entry. Some of it ends up here, but there's also additional writing for you there on the Substack. And join as a paying subscriber, and you will get a welcome email inviting you to our private, members-only Discord chat server with topics from hot button stuff to religion to politics, art, and everything else. And I'd love to see you there. You can also do it through subscribestar.com/disaffected. You get the same content on either one. If you've got subscription fatigue, I understand that too. We're very grateful for one-off, one-time contributions. Really easy to do. Go to our website, disaffected.com, and click on Support Us. We've got a new option too, if you can remember this one. You can buy us a coffee. That is ko-fi.com/disaffected. One-time contributions. Anthony Fauci is a villain. He should be tried for treason, and I think he should be hanging from the end of a rope. But lots of public figures are villains. Joe Biden was a villain. His administration was full of villains. Kamala Harris was a villain. The various press secretaries for the White House were villains. The top levels of power are full of personality disordered villains. Narcissists, psychopaths, unstable and explosive histrionic borderlines. Cluster B reigns supreme at the top of politics, business, Hollywood, and cultural institutions. But it takes more than narcissists and psychopaths to ruin a society. They can't do it by themselves. It takes millions of people cooperating with them to ruin society. It takes millions of everyday citizens turning on each other to prove to the villains what good boys and girls they are so they don't get beat up. The public reaction to the COVID scam and the government's abuse of citizens showed us who we really are, who our friends are, who our families really are, what our colleagues really think of us, what our loved ones would do to us if some jumped-up garden gnome told them to. Millions of Americans fell in line to scream about how other people were killing grandma by not wearing a mask when it was actually those dancing twats in nursing scrubs on TikTok who were killing our grandparents with unnecessary and forced ventilation. People that you know and love shrieked at you if you tried to get a hold of ivermectin, for example. They called you stupid. The Centers for Disease Control went on social media and mocked Americans and said they were too stupid to understand that ivermectin was horse paste. Not true. It's a drug that is prescribed mainly for humans. Didn't matter. CDC said it was horse paste. Doctors lost their jobs and their licenses to practice because they prescribed perfectly legal medicines if that medicine was disfavored by the CDC and the White House. We have never seen anything like what happened here, ever in history. The villains only got away with this because America complied. America took on the mission and brought it home. They abused their family members. They agitated for school closures and kept their kids at home for up to 2 years in some states, permanently deranging growing, impressionable minds. They made their kids wear masks on their faces outdoors in 100-degree heat playing soccer. We saw it everywhere. You saw bulldozers pushing sand onto playgrounds so that people couldn't use them. You saw benches in parks and on beaches with police tape on them. COVID was a character and personality test, and the bulk of this country failed. The majority of this country enacted the thesis of this show. Like abused children at home who turn on each other to stop mommy from beating them, we turned on our loved ones on command. Many Americans have family members, many of you watching the show have family members who would gladly have seen you imprisoned, made bankrupt, or killed. Yes, killed, for disobeying illegal, tyrannical government orders. That is who America is. This is who we are. Today in 2026, this is who we are. There's been no reckoning. We didn't change our stripes. We'll do it again. Let's remind ourselves what our friends and family were supporting during the fake pandemic. This was an interesting set of polls that I found from the COVID States Project survey. This was published in November of 2020. The COVID States Project, a 50-state COVID-19 survey, report number 25, public support for measures aimed at curbing COVID-19. Pulled a few highlights out for you. Let's remember these things. This graph is support for measures to curb COVID-19 measured by gender. They mean sex. So, the question was, do you approve or disapprove of the following measures which federal, state, and local governments could take to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the next 30 days? These are the responses who somewhat or strongly approved. Democrats, 96% approved of asking people to stay at home and avoid gatherings. 72% of Republicans, 85% of independents. Democrats, 78% supported requiring most businesses to close. Requiring. Only 40% of Republicans approved, 57% of independents. 90% of Democrats supported canceling major sports events and entertainment events, 65% of Republicans, 78% of independents. Restricting travel within the U.S., 82% of Democrats supported this compared to 57% of Republicans, 69% of independents. 85% of Democrats supported prohibiting K-12 schools from teaching in person. 48% of Republicans do not take comfort. Look, less Republicans supported this. Look at that graph. 48, nearly half of Republicans supported closing public schools. 72% of them supported making people stay at home. 40% of Republicans supported the government requiring businesses to close. Kevin, let's go back to the graphic before this, number 260, COVID by gender. I think I got a little mixed up about what was on my screen. So this is a breakdown by sex. 85% of women supported the government asking people to stay at home. 83% of men, so no difference. 60% of women supported requiring most businesses to close. 59% of men, no difference. If you look at this graphic here, you'll see almost zero difference by sex. I was surprised to see that, but I suppose I shouldn't be. Men have been feminized. That's your proof right there. You should not expect these close numbers by sex, but you get them anyway. There's almost no difference between any of them. They're all within the statistical noise period. All right. So do you remember how the mainstream media told you and your family that you were a cluster B personality disordered psychopath if you wouldn't wear a mask? Do you remember this article? I'm pretty sure we showed this on the show when it was new. Newsweek headline: narcissists and psychopaths are more likely to refuse to wear masks, says new research. Next one here is from a poll by Politico and Morning Consult. Newsweek printed it in 2020. Quote, public health experts agree that wearing masks is an effective way of limiting the spread of the virus, although success is heavily dependent on widespread compliance, since masks are far more effective at preventing infections spreading to others, as opposed to offering protection for the mask wearer. So, do you get that? Yeah, there it is again. I wear my mask to protect you. Do you see how brilliant that was? To play on people's sense of, I'm doing a good thing. I'm sacrificing my comfort so that you won't die. It gave people a perfect excuse to be as full of themselves and dictatorial and schoolmarmy as possible, because they got to see themselves as extra caring. I care about you. Why don't you care about me? Here is from an Ipsos poll that was taken in August of 2021. I know it's very, very small. It's going to be hard to read on your screen. It's going to be hard for me to read too. It's that small. But I want to pull out a couple of things for you. Look at that graphic. Overall, 73% of respondents say protecting the common good is more important, even if that means requiring some people to do things they don't want to do. On the other hand, 27% say protecting personal liberty is more important. Yeah, this is America. Last one here. A larger majority, 75%, agree that getting the vaccine is less about protecting the individual and more about stopping the continued spread of COVID. There's that reversal again. I'm doing it for you. I'm sacrificing because I care about you. Got another one from that same Ipsos poll. Can we put that up, please? 70% agree with the statement, quote, people have a right to not get the vaccine, but should not expect to be able to be around the vaccinated if they don't. 70% thought that was a great idea. 2/3 believe businesses have the right to refuse service to the unvaccinated. 71% say colleges have a right to require their students to be vaccinated to return to campus. When it comes to taking specific actions against people who are eligible for the vaccine but don't get one, most support barring them from large-scale events like concerts, traveling by airplane or mass transit, or patronizing restaurants and bars. That's what America thought. That's what many of your family thought about you. How you feeling about that? To see the real villain of the COVID era, America only needs to look in the mirror. The psychopaths and the narcissists will always be with us. They're like features of nature. They've always been with us, they're with us now, and they always will be. They cannot be completely controlled, they can't be remediated, and they can't be done away with. Well, they can, but we won't. Think of it this way. You can't move that big boulder that's in the middle of the river. You can't move it. But you have a choice about whether you crash your family's boat into that boulder or whether you tack around to the side. You do have that choice. The American public treated its own loved ones with violence and contempt during this period. Well, I return that contempt. If you're wise, you will never trust your family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues the same way again. You'd be foolish if you did. It is too often the people who love us who are standing behind us with a knife pointed at our backs. We're going to close out the show with a lesson in road rules from my new academy, Uncle Josh's Finishing School.
I wear it for the reason that I believe it is effective. It's not 100% effective. I mean, it's sort of respect for another person and have that other person respect you.
If you could use somebody to talk to who's not going to tell you that you're crazy for noticing what's going on in the decline of our society, if you could use somebody to talk to who's had experience with narcissistic and emotionally unstable family members, you can talk to me. Go to my website, joshuaslocum.net. I offer private, confidential, 1-hour video sessions with people, and we can talk about what's going on with your family, what's going on with your friend circle, or just what you're feeling and thinking about what's going on in the world politically, particularly in the West. It's not therapy. I'm not a mental health therapist, and I'm not offering you licensed or credentialed mental health treatment. But what I am offering you is a knowledgeable layman's ear who's been through it personally and who's talked with other people who are going through it. And if that would be good, I'd like to offer that ear to you. So check out what I offer at joshuaslocum.net. My calendar is up there. And if you don't find a time that works for you, check the calendar first. But if you don't find a time, send me an email through the website and I'll try to schedule you off hours if I can. And I also will offer you sliding scale. My normal rates are $125 an hour, $95 for monthly supporters of Disaffected. But if that's too rich for your blood right now, I have been in your position many times, and I will meet you where you can afford. So just shoot me an email through the website and let me know how I can help. joshuaslocum.net. Over the past 15 years, America has abandoned just about every social rule, every kind of etiquette, and every normative behavior that used to make public interaction bearable. So I've decided that it's time to open Uncle Josh's Finishing School. Unlike the establishments of yore that taught society girls the finer and fussier points of manners, my school is going to concentrate on remedial education. So today, we will be reviewing the rules of the road. Matriculants, open your desks and take out your copies of the Uniform Vehicle Code and your state's Department of Motor Vehicles manual. We will be referring to these texts. Follow along. If you like this lesson and you want it in print form, it's published this week as my column in The Blaze. Road rules refresher. Forgot how to drive? Let Uncle Josh bring you up to speed. There's a picture of Robert De Niro, a taxi driver. Thanks, The Blaze. Now, the Uniform Vehicle Code is a model law that all states have followed. It's not an actual state or federal law. It's a template on which every U.S. state has based its rules for the road. Your state, wherever you are, has a driver's handbook through its Department of Motor Vehicles, and they are nearly identical from state to state. The only exceptions are local idiosyncrasies, like New York City's ban on turning right on red, for example. Just small exceptions like that. Everything else is universal. For this, I'm going to base this on the Vermont manual, but it's going to be the same as your state. And this lesson is for everybody. Whether you're my boomer grandma or my Gen X peer, a millennial or Gen Z, many of you across age cohorts have completely forgotten the rules of the road. We can all see it in the past 6 years. And yes, it does track with COVID. Absolutely does. Road rules aren't just about being nice. This isn't just etiquette. Etiquette is a serious thing. Don't poo-poo it. It's not just, which fork do you use? Etiquette is the norms and rules that we use to make social life possible. And when a particular form of etiquette is important enough that it becomes a safety issue, it turns into something we call law. Laws are simply codified etiquette, legally enforceable etiquette. So road rules aren't about being nice. They're the difference between life and death. It doesn't get any more serious than that. And while it's true that there are now millions of foreigners and illegal aliens who are flooding our road with dangerous, unskilled driving, we Americans are barely any better. This is what it looks like to me from the big picture perspective. Over, say, the past 10 years, but definitely more rapidly since COVID, I have noticed that American drivers are acting as though all the road rules they knew their whole life just disappeared overnight. All of a sudden, nobody knows who has the right of way at a four-way stop with a stop sign. All of a sudden, no one understands that a red light means stop. They just sail through a solid red without even looking in either direction. All of a sudden, no one remembers that the left lane on a highway is not a travel lane, but a lane for passing. I don't think Americans have actually forgotten these things. I suspect instead that our culture's lurch toward narcissism, accelerated by the psychosis of our response to COVID, has led people to simply not giving a shit anymore about anyone but themselves, even at the expense of their own safety. That's how bad it is. That selfish attitude, it's not going to protect you if you're being a selfish driver. It's not just the other guy in the other car who could get hurt. The selfish driver could get killed too by his own actions. Doesn't seem to occur to people, which is really puzzling to me and it disturbs me. So let's refresh some of the most important ones. Let's talk about the right of way at four-way stops. We're not ready for the graphic yet, Kevin. I got a little bit more. Imagine an intersection with cars at all four corners. They've all stopped at a stop sign. Who goes first? Do you know? Think about it for a second. Let me tell you what this is like when you're driving in Vermont, where I live. This is a blue progressive state, and that mindset infects everything, everywhere at the street level, including how people walk in stores and how they drive on the streets. It's a baffling mixture here of people trying to be nice to other drivers, but in a way that seems more like they're showing off being nice than it is about actually being considerate and making driving safer. So, at a four-way stop in Vermont, you'll see all four cars inching, stopping against each other for up to 10 seconds. Nobody knows what they're doing. Then, someone at one of the four forks will start waving another driver through. That's the being nice part. But this is a trap. No one else at the intersection remembers that the right of way then passes to the right clockwise. You don't dare to move because you can't predict what people will do and you're afraid of getting T-boned. I'm serious. And it's me and it's everybody else there. I can see they're thinking the same thing. We're all terrified that somebody's going to slam into us because nobody will follow the rule, the clockwise rule. It happened to me 2 days ago when I was out doing errands with my friend Holly. We came to a four-way stop in Barrie, and there were cars at three of the four spokes. I was in the middle, one on my left, one on my right. We all got there at approximately the same time. It wasn't clear who got there first. So the lady to my left and I actually made eye contact, and we agreed that she would go first. She was car number one. And then I looked over to the car on the right. That lady could not grasp that she was next, being the car on the right. So she was frantically waving at me, go, go, go. And she kept inching and stopping, waving at me to go. Well, no. This time I said no. I was not going to budge. This is not the order it goes in. I shook my head and I motioned to her while I was mouthing, you have the right of way. I wasn't being a jerk. I wasn't flipping her off and saying, you have the right of way. This matters. I'm not the problem here. I'm getting all defensive because I can already hear people acting like I'm the problem because I get this all the time. It took her about 10 seconds before she finally gave in. I was not going to do it. She finally gave in and she peeled out, glaring at me while I made the turn. I'm sorry. You should obey the road rules. Why? She had the right of way. I wouldn't let her break the right of way and cause more confusion, and she didn't like that. This behavior isn't nice. It's dangerous. The reason that we have road laws is to give universal behavioral predictability. Ignoring road rules means that no driver can predict what another driver will do. That's begging for a wreck. We're all piloting 2 tons of steel at 70 miles an hour down the road. We need rules for this. Here's how you know who goes first. I took this from the Vermont DMV manual. It's the same right of way in every state in America. The first driver to arrive at the four-way stop has the right of way. If there is confusion, then the driver on the right has the right of way if there are two drivers at the intersection. If there are more than two drivers, you do have to make eye contact and negotiate who's going to go first. That's fine. But after that first person goes, the right of way goes to the right clockwise. It doesn't go randomly. It doesn't go counterclockwise. It goes to the right, goes to the right. This should be so easy to remember. Let's talk about right of way at T intersections. This is another thing that people are having a problem with, a three-way intersection where one road terminates and stops at a T. The driver on the through road, the road that doesn't stop, the road that keeps going, that driver has the right of way. And that means if you're on a road that ends in a T, the traffic on the through road has the right of way. You have to stop, even if there isn't a stop sign. By law, you have to stop. And by common sense and personal self-preservation, you have to stop. Okay? Now, what about unmarked intersections? Let me give you an example. If two roads merge together, either with a T or because they merge together like this, unless there's a sign that's directing you, I think some states have signs that direct you to do a zipper merge, which people also have problems with. In the absence of contraindicated signs, again, the traffic on the through road, the main road, has the right of way. So, if you're, a good example of this is a highway on-ramp. It's not the only kind, but it's a good example. You have to yield to the traffic that is on the through road. Even if there's no sign there, you have to yield to them. You don't have the right of way, they do. That means if you're zipping through there 80 miles an hour on the on-ramp and you don't signal and just swoop in and crash, you are the one who gets charged, not the driver on the through road. And this one is my personal favorite, which means I hate it more than anything. I call it left lane camping, especially on the interstate. In Vermont, it looks like I put more graphics on here than I meant to read to you. So in our state, we only have one major interstate, Highway 89. So you have to be on it if you're going to go anywhere else in the state. And because this is sparsely populated and rural, I have to drive 40 minutes, for example, to get to a Home Depot. If I want home improvement supplies, it's a 40-minute trip for me. Take Highway 89. And what I see is left lane camping constantly. There are only two lanes in each direction on Highway 89. So 2 lanes this way, and then a separation and a median, and 2 ways this way. That means that if a driver, call her Gloria is camping in the left-hand lane. She has arrogated to herself the entire interstate. She's decided that's just Gloria's road and nobody else gets to pass her. So what she'll do is she'll force every driver behind her to be unable to pass because she's doing 5 miles below the speed limit and she's matching her speed to the truck that's in the right-hand lane. I call this a boxed in. And it happens literally every single time I get on this highway, every day. It's never not happened. It's not just annoying and inconsiderate to camp in the left-hand passing lane. In my state and in half the states in America, it's illegal. It is against the law to use the left lane as a travel lane in Vermont and 25 states. Did you know that? Do you know the law in your state? Have you thought about this? Look it up. It's a good idea. Even if it is legal in your state to use the left lane as a travel lane, it's not a good idea. It's a poor choice. It's rude and inconsiderate to other drivers. It just is. It's rude. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Put yourself in the shoes of the guy behind you. Remember how it's frustrating for you when you're prevented from passing because driver Gloria is in front of you and boxing you in? Don't do that to other drivers. So even if it's not illegal, please don't choose to do that. Inconsiderate behavior like that is a major cause of the breakdown in civility, and it provokes a lot of road rage incidents. And I have a plea to close this out to the police who enforce traffic laws. The goodwill of drivers who are willing to be responsible for themselves only goes so far. We need active law enforcement too. To my eyes as a driver, local and state police have been doing a really poor job at this, despite the fact that cell phone use, and I don't just mean calls, I mean texting, being on Twitter, checking your messages, doing that behind the wheel has skyrocketed. It doesn't matter what laws they put on the books. I see it every day. Most police, I notice, though, I don't see them doing any enforcement of that. What I notice is that they're just doing the old school thing they've always done, which is to find a little access road and hide on the highway and nab speeders with radar. They're not out there among the traffic actually looking at what people are doing. They're just doing speed traps because it's easy. I don't see any evidence that police are taking this seriously, and I really wish they would. Have you seen cops? Have you ever noticed, I mean, I know it's harder to see these things than it is to see a speed trap, but have you ever noticed cops enforcing infractions like left lane camping or taking a right of way and refusing? I don't think I see it very much. And from the police point of view, I get it. It is harder to detect and enforce this kind of behavior than it is to just sit and run your radar gun on a speed trap. Yeah, it does take more work and effort, I know. But there has to be a way to do it, and there has to be a way to enforce this better. So that's your lesson, your first lesson from Uncle Josh's Finishing School. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your tuition. That's the show, and thank you again for giving us your eyes and ears for an hour this week. We'll see you next week.
Time to write in my diary. Today I imagined a new adventure. I can't wait to write more.